Hi again. I'd like to invite everyone to get seated, please. So welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your lunch. So we're ready for a very exciting topic that speaks to this region. Guess what? This is real estate and hospitality. So I'm very much excited to introduce our next panel, Redefining the Future of Real Estate and Hospitality. Trends such as virtual design and construction, VDC, prefabricated, prefinished volumetric construction, PPVC, 3D printing, and others are among the latest trends disrupting the real estate sector. This panel will discuss how the industry stakeholders are integrating technologies that provide innovative solutions and the opportunities that offer in improving delivery and affordability. This panel will also address the challenges, skills, efficiency needed to leverage the data and all of the innovation discovered among any other topics. Our panelists are, I would like by inviting Stuart Harrison, the CEO of Emerald Services. Please, welcome to the stage. With over 25 years of experience in technical, operation, engineering, and senior business roles, Stuart has played an instrumental role in the delivery of facility management and engineering services across a diverse range of projects and sectors, including critical environments such as airport, hospitals, and sensitive government sites. Welcome, Stuart, on the stage. I'd like to introduce a long-term friend and a figure in this region who has led lots of super mega projects and iconic ones, Engineer Isa Al-Ali, the Vice President of the Project Management Office at North 25. Engineer Isa monitors and controls a portfolio value of 30 billion AED of fully diversified construction project from early feasibility stage up until the end of the construction, with a total of 100 projects, including residential, retail, mixed-use, hospitality, and infrastructure, to innovative and very much iconic, as I said, entertainment project. He has been deeply involved in the efficiency design and build of the Expo 2020. Welcome, Engineer Isa, to the stage. Our third panelist is Majid Al-Hawari, the Group Chief Information Officer at ACGC. Engineer Majid has held several managerial positions in key international companies. He has managed major projects, again, in residential, commercial, oil and gas, and industrial sectors. He also worked on a consultancy basis with major consultants and developers such as Hill International, Turner, ECG, Damac, DEP, Al-Futtaim, I'mar, and others. Welcome to the stage. And then our last panelist, Fadi Murus, the General Manager of Business Growth, AG Facilities. Welcome to the stage. Fadi is responsible for business development, mobilization, sustainability, and new business incubators. He is a qualified engineer, certified asset management professional with extensive experience in managing building assets for large commercial, real estate, project, and government portfolio. And last but not least, our moderator, the Vice President of Project Development at Knowledge Economic City, Saeed Al-Biali. Saeed leads the team of project development for the Knowledge Economic City company, who are developing a mega mixed-use development across 6.8 million square meter in Al-Madina Al-Munawwara city, with an average investment of 95 billion Saudi riyal. El-Saeed has diversified experience in multiple engineering disciplines and working for different sectors, master developer, project management, international consultants, and government. So I'll leave you with this exciting so far panel. Looking forward, and over to you, our moderator. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, for this great collection of expertise in different sectors. And thank you, PMI, for the panels that we have attended until now. Really, you have collected a well-diversified expertise in different sectors. Defining the future of real estate and hospitality. Today, we are listening about artificial intelligence, digital twins, as we heard this morning from Siemens, virtual design, modular building, 3D printing, metadata, and recently the metaverse as well. All of these are among the latest technology trends in the real estate market and increasing more and more with the information and technology revolution that we are facing in this century. Today we will discuss with the diversified expertise from different sectors in real estate, either in development, project management, information technology, and facility management as well, how the industry stakeholders are integrating the technology to provide innovative solution in real estate development. This will help the professionals to increase the productivity and efficiency and profitability of their projects. Our discussion as well will address the challenges, required skills in the future to cope with the technology revolution. Let's start with Fadi. What are the latest construction technology adapted in the industry, and how is their adoption is improving the delivery and affordability of the projects?
Okay, that's a two-side question. So we'll start. The first one is about latest technology that's been used in the construction and FM industry. Construction, I think we have a misconception that we've been left behind when it comes to technology, but the last few years we have a lot of changes happening on this. The disruption of the AI and machine learning solutions came in every part of the construction process. And the design, we have now an AI enhanced design technology to help, to verify the designs before we go on the ground. We have, on the construction, we have solution based on machine learning, computer visions, where you can identify the errors, anomalies in the construction happening on the ground and report immediately. It is very, maybe a bit new to the market, but I think we are adapting very well to this. Solution based on 3D printing, having constructed modular solutions being adapted as well. Even within the design itself and the discussion between the structure of the design using building information development programs and digital twins, it's became common to use BIM models to communicate and discuss what's happening on the ground. In the last 2-3 years as well, with the COVID situation happened, we start to rely more on remote monitoring. So we have drones monitoring our sites. We have cameras equipped with AI and machine learning able to report what's happening on the site remotely. All of this is a new thing is coming to construction. We might be left behind for a while, but I think now within the last few years, we start to be aligned with what's happening in other industries. So AI, big data, machine learning, BIM modeling, digital twins became a common language within every development thing. On the other side, the other part of the question on how it helps, it's helps everywhere. It's reducing the time, to communicate. It's reduced the time and the effort and the risk of having errors happening in design and the construction. It helps us to enhance the safety-wise to identify near miss before it even happened. I've seen lately a solution where we have cameras installed to the sites, and it's equipped with an AI and with machine learning, and it can identify automatically if there is any improper movement, if there is a near miss, if there is a risky situation is happening on the site, and report and send the messages everywhere without any interruption for anyone. So we started to rely on the technology and became part of the normal service delivery. And I think this is great for the industry. That will help us to better develop better buildings, more sustainable, and also cheaper.
Thank you. One of the technologies being used in construction is a modular building. as we see, modular building started to be used in different areas of the world, and especially we can see now not low-rise, even some high-rise hotels being used in modular systems. It is the good advantage of that. It is saving a lot of time in the construction, as we know, and also ensures the quality, because the quality is being is depending on the factory standard. So everything is being done within the factory and just mobilized to the site, moved to the site for installation. But although that, we don't see increasing use of this system in the region here, although it has started, some factories we can see in Dubai, Saudi Arabia just started to implement, and BIF, some of the projects, not yet implemented, just to study how to implement it. But Mr. Isa, from experience in development and managing the development, how do you see the appetite of the developers in using such modular systems, new systems, the construction, and especially in the hospitality, I mean, because it is very good use in the hospitality. And actually, what's hindering the developers to use these systems in widely used in the region?
First of all, it's for me, when I saw the modular system, maybe it was more than 13 years ago. It's not something that newly invented, but as you said clearly, it's not moving forward with that expected pace and the volume. Before answering the question why there is, a resistance and the appetite is low, let's look at the model of our different real estate. We have in the hospitality, you built and then you operate it yourself, and there are assets that we have that we lease or for leisure or for residential, and there are assets that we sell. When the commercial model of the real estate makes a difference. For example, if you're selling the unit, you have a small window to make that decision. The moment you sell off plan, then you have to quickly move to design and construct. So the window you have to think and test the market and procure it is really limited. But when you have your assets that you will build and operate or lease, then you're ready to explore the market. The appetite is higher there. However, in the hospitality, it depends. The mid-range hotel, I would say, is fine to go with that. When you go to luxury level, ultra luxury, the designers don't like it because of the perception. It's nothing but the perception. But for us as engineers, we believe it's the best. Especially that it's in a controlled environment. You don't need a lot of man hours in the site, reduce emissions, risk, so many benefits to do that. But as we said earlier, construction is always behind the disruption. There are only incremental improvement. That doesn't mean that we are not doing. We are still doing modular designs, and we are doing the toilet as pods here and there. It's happening, but there is no strong force. Real estate today is embarked on construction. And construction, if you look at the list of the digital transformation or innovation, it stands at the bottom. And maybe they are competing with the government sector, I would say. But real estate cannot grow if the construction doesn't disrupt itself and improve. So I think today we have to move from that old mentality. Why not, for example, we completely transform the existing construction at site to manufacturing, for example. The small and low-rise villas and residential units, I think, and I can challenge that 80% of it can be done in a factory. The structural systems components are ready as precast. The pods are there. Wall systems are there. But nobody is coming to take that initiative to aggregate them together and turn construction into a factory. And everything becomes just assembly at site. Instead of waiting a year or 2 years to build a small villa, we can do that in 2 months. So that's a call order for the industry to wake up from this forum, I would say.
Thank you. As important as the construction methodology is facility management. Facility management, or I personally prefer to call it more community management services, because it's affecting the whole quality of life of the developments. Stuart, being experted in the facility management, what can facility management or community management services offer the project right from the beginning?
Well, you're very kind saying that I'm an expert. I'm not sure everybody would agree with that. But can I whiz back to the first question where you asked about technology, and then I promise I'll answer this question. I had a great comment before from my friend in the meeting. He talked about a foie gras goose, and they stuffed that food right down its throat. That first question sounded like it came from an IT company, and how do they force their IT products down our throat and convince all the clients to use them? Well, I can promise you, when we're ready for it, we'll just pick it up and use it. I was in the jungle in Panama once, and I was going through these trees, expecting to find nothing in particular. I found a little village, and all these people sat around playing with smartphones. And when people are ready for technology, they just pick it up and they use it. So they only do so, though, when there's a compelling need to. And you just mentioned about modular buildings, and when people are ready for it, they'll just grab it and they'll use it. How facilities management can help the construction industry, and I don't want to sound like a moaner at this, but one of the things that I'm really afraid of is award-winning designs or value engineering, because it probably just means our job's going to be very difficult for the next 50 years as we look after buildings. So if you bring us in at the beginning, we can help with the design, and we can talk about the future of the building, whether that's going to last 50 years or 20 years or 100 years or 1,000 years. It's not really important, but it's just the future sustainability of that building. Now, one of the mistakes that FM companies did was that they talked about being able to save money by doing this, and we can't always save money, but it will make the building better. And I'll give you an example of that. I used to run a hospital portfolio in the UK, and we got a problem with the steam system. And in the UK, it's very cold during winter, and the steam system keeps people nice and warm. And when I say people, I mean like maybe neonatal ICU, that's little babies in ICU, or old people, or augmented people in kidney dialysis units or whatever. You can't just turn a steam system off. And a lot of the steam valves had been value engineered out of the project, because it had saved money. This is only about 5 or 6 years old. It was a PPP project. And I couldn't isolate the system. I had to turn it all off in winter, and that was a massive headache, because if you keep people cold in those circumstances during winter, then they could possibly die. Now, if the FM company had been involved from the very beginning, they would have said, don't value engineer those valves out of that system, because it'll just mean for the future it'll be very, very hard for us to manage that building or that environment. So that was a way that we wouldn't save you money. We'd actually make it more expensive, because you wouldn't be able to value engineer those valves out. But it would be a better building going forward. And what that means is, I don't know, hospitals, the NHS are stuck with those. But if it's a vertical or horizontal community, whatever it is, it means that if you try and sell it in the future, that's going to be challenging. Or if you try and convince people to rent apartments in that building or take over that space, if it's expensive to manage and run, then that's going to be difficult for you. So I guess that's, in a nutshell, how we can get involved at the very beginning and offer, whether it's on a consultancy basis, and it's not for free, by the way. You have to pay us to do that, because often they ask us to come in and give them some consultancy for free, and maybe you'll get the FM work in 2 years' time. But we're probably not going to engage in that way. But if you genuinely engage us from the beginning, it's a paid service, and will make the building better and more sustainable over the next 100 years of its operation.
Yeah, I agree. Most of the, not most, some of the developers are not giving the facility management strategy a attention when they are starting to the development of the project. Most of the people are focusing on the business case and design and construction. What after construction, it will come. It's not studied well at the initial stage of the development. This is something
fairly basic stuff. I mean, we I don't want to say where, but we looked after a mall. And the only way we could change the lights in the food court area is to completely dismantle all the food court, take all the tables down that were bolted to the floor, remove all the chairs, all that kind of stuff, build a scaffold, and then change light bulbs. It's insanity, you know. It took the food court out for about 4 or 5 days, incredible expense just to change light bulbs. You know, not very well designed. It looked beautiful when it was finished, but it wasn't a very good design if you're looking at maintenance.
Yeah, thank you. The transformation from transition from the construction to operation, like the pre-opening of some of the buildings, some of the hotels especially, it is something big that should be well considered. So back to Fadi again, how do you find that the emerging technologies or the recent technology systems can help to overcome the challenges in the transition stage from construction to operation?
Again, it's the same point. It's just extension. The same point Stewart is talking about is how we can get FM involved within the construction and being part of the construction team. And I think the technology is the way to do this. The technology and the new technology we can have, it could help us. If we consider something like the BIM model, the building information modeling, where we have the design team and in ideal world, of course, Blue Sky is design team, construction team, and FM, they're all sitting in the front of a 3D model, and they start to discuss how they can build it and what's the FM concern, and they start to build it together. They go through the entire process, and once the building is ready and to be handed over to the FM, they all agree on what they are taking over. We don't talk about the new stakeholders. What's happening at the moment is, without having this conduit in between, is we have different stakeholders with different expectations, with different goals and even strategies. They are handing over the same building, the same assets from a hand to another hand without providing enough information. We know that an FM, when you start to take over new buildings, you take over an as-built drawings, which it might not be reflecting what's actual on site. You have information is missing. The O&M manuals might not be very relevant to the asset in there. And once you take over the building, you just start to ask the question not been asked before. If you have a BIM building, you can just take this data, hand it over to the FM. They have developed their digital twin. As you can tell, I'm a fan of the big data. So we have all the data generated during the design and construction, handed over in a proper way to the FM through a proper conduit, through a proper model, which is a digital twin, and you can start to develop your FM strategy on it. And we start to develop your, what we call it, asset life cycle. You can say that this building, you spend 5 years to develop the building or your project, then this became your asset. You put your money and effort and everything, and then you have another 10, 20, 30 years. No one thought about what we'll do there. Do you have a tool? Do you have the information? Do you have the data carried with you during this process? And that's what the technology could help you. So if we can have a kind of data-driven solution using even technology like digital twin and IoT, we'll have sensors reflect what's happening, on the ground. You have what we call it interactive operation and maintenance activities. So when you start to have the FM, the technician go to, take over the new buildings, if you just with using the technology, augmented reality, he can put his glass, I can tell what's the component, what's the manufacturer, what's the expected lifespan for the assets. That's what we're expecting in the future. Then that's how we can have proper handover. We're not talking about a small project. We're talking about an investment. It's a lot of money. It's been there and during the construction. And without proper handing over to the FM, providing enough information, what the data has been generated during the first phase, it will just dilute it. And that's happening. That's a common approach. We have seen this in the FM industry. We have seen this in construction. Once the building is being completed, the construction companies just hand over to the FM. FM just start from scratch, like there is no data. They start to create what we call it an asset register, just based on what's in existing, start capturing the information, and we ignored everything is being generated. So this kind of conduit based on the technology, using the new technology made available for us, digital twin, IoT, even the BIM model as a start, it could be the conduit we are missing.
Yeah, as we see, the digital property management system is using more beyond BIM now, like using metadata and cloud technologies. And so beyond the BIM and Maximo and such applications that's being used in the facility management. So Stuart, what is the future trends beyond this? You think that it will be, we can see provision for the facility management more than?
Well, I suppose a future trend that I'd like to see is actually going back and using the stuff that we've just been talking about. Fadi makes a very good point. Imagine we were going to build a prestigious building. We're going to spend tens of millions of dollars on it, and then we say, okay, so it'll take 2 or 3 years to build. It'll take maybe a year in the DLP process as we hand it over, and then what will we do? Right, well, what we'll do, we'll hand it over with no handover, no BIM model, no decent information. And then we'll get some fairly unskilled people to look after it for us. We'll give them 2 weeks training and we'll stick them in there. You would think I'm mad, but that's what you do. That's what actually happens. I remember, if you'd have seen me sitting on a stage 10 years ago, I was talking about taking those models, taking the Navisworks or whatever it is, whatever type of system that you use. And I got a guy that put a module in it. So I took basically how it was built. And then I took everything that was done to it during the construction phase, and then I added on a maintenance module, and it was really easy for the guy to do. And I talked about that, and I talked about combining those things together and having I don't know what you call it, like a digital twin or whatever the trendy term is now. And that was 10 years ago, and I've only ever met one guy that ever got anywhere with it, and he wrote a PhD on it. And it was a very successful system, but it's just not used. I've taken BIM models from people, and when I've tried to open it and look at it and do something with it, it's not very well, it's not great. So I'd like to see things like, those digital twins actually put in place. I'd like to see people trained properly to use them. I'd like to see standards in terms of, tradespeople even. If you work in Europe, you can't even call yourself an electrician unless you hold a certain card with your picture on or something like that. Whereas, in other parts of the world, I could set up a company tomorrow and just bring 1,000 unskilled people in and call them electricians. I'd like to just see, I'm an electrical engineer, I'd like to just see a real return to good old-fashioned engineering where we just set up a really good foundation and then use the technology that's available to us right now. As I said, the other technology, well, he's not a kid anymore, but my 19-year-old plays on these games with VR, and so the technology that's out there is incredible. We haven't even scratched the surface of it really in terms of transition from a shovel in the ground all the way through to 10 or 20 years in the future on a building. So I guess I probably sound like a moaner now, but I guess that's what I'd like to see going forward over the next few years.
About information technology, metaverse is something that we are all we don't know exactly how it will affect our world. So Magid, how do you see the metaverse can impact the future of real estate sector?
Okay, well, metaverse actually it's a kind of the continuous evolution and innovation in the across different industries into technology. We use worldwide to speak about now what we call it the Industry 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution, which is like coming after the first, what we call the first revolution was when the human discovered the power of steam. Then we moved to the second cycle when we found the power of the electricity. Then with the automation and computers by mid 1950, it was the third one. And where we are talking about the fourth industrial wave, which is using the internet speed and connectivity, and we started even to speak about the fifth industrial revolution, which is that objects are talking to each other and factories are talking to each other. Part of this continuous evolution, it came with the terminology of metaverse. Fadi mentioned the digital twin and the IoT and the AI and all these are part of the fourth industrial revolution. Metaverse, what is the metaverse? It's the continuous improvement of what we are doing. It's in a simple terminology, it's a VR. In the virtual reality, We are leaving the same we are doing in a kind of computer-generated environment to improve what we are trying to do. What is the purpose of this? We are here to improve the human interaction, the integration, taking care of the climate change and taking care of the planet. All these are part of how we want to improve the experience of the human being. So meta in construction, it's trying something, a trial to improve what we are trying to deliver in the construction industry, considering the full life cycle. I'm happy that Stewart and Isa and Fadi talks about the project life cycle, the life cycle of the industry. So we used to speak before about the construction, the main contractor. We speak separately about design. We speak separately about the facility management. Now the way we approach the built environment is different. We are taking from end-to-end cycle, from once we have a feasible idea in the initiation, going through the different design stage, going through the construction, then handing over the facility and starting the full asset of the facility, which is used to be 50, 70, 100 or more years. So how to improve the entire life cycle of the industry delivery through the different technology. Meta could have something good at early stage when it comes to the design. So you can visualize what we are planning to do. We can select different alternatives when it comes to the material selection. You can have your walkthrough and the theme of living within the building during the design stage. And then when it comes to the facility management, you can mimic what's happening in the reality and use it to improve the performance. Improving the performance, saving the environment, reducing the unnecessary continuous change, which is one of the nature of the built environment, which is costing the planet a lot of material change with the multiple revisions and wasting the natural resources and affecting the climate like what we are all seeing in the last couple of years.
That's interesting. It will be interesting world. As we heard today from Musa in the morning, that the regulations are still not yet what can I say? There is not enough regulations yet implemented or not yet matured for the implementing of the technology systems like metaverse in the future and like that. So how is the regulations must adapt to the technology implementation, and what are the risks that on the real estate sector that you can see if we don't have the enough regulations to use such technologies? Magdi, continue.
Allow me to disagree with you that we don't have enough regulations here. I believe in the UAE market is quite mature in adopting technology and putting a reasonable regulation to implement. I was discussing with the Aisa just before the panel discussion about the utilization of drones. Still in many countries you cannot use or own a drone, while here in Dubai it's quite regulated more than 7 years back. From 2015 we at ASGC as a main contractor, we have a drone license and we have pilots, authorized pilots to operate with it. So rules are moving fast, everything is controlled. We used to have the green and red zone, so we know where we are using our technology, where we are using our drones. End of this year, UAE is going to launch the national guidelines of digital transformation and technology. Couple of years back, we have the fourth industrial revolution strategy for the UAE, blockchain strategy, and I believe end of this month or early next month, I cannot recall it, in the Museum of the Future, there will be the first metaverse conference related to the different industry, not only the construction. So the market here is quite fast to adopt technology, even at the pilot stage and early stage of the implementation. Maybe this case might be applicable in some different markets, but for me here, whatever I want to do as a main contractor or new proposal of technology or POCs or anything, I'm quite getting the support from multiple governmental entities and sometimes with the developers as well. If Isa And we're discussing even new projects we are going to do as a kind of POCs in the construction industry for integrating blockchain within the construction industry to move the concept of what we used to say, the a smart home, to move it to the next era, which is a smart home in a connected community.
I can agree with you that some of the countries, especially like what you see in Dubai is always very advanced in implementing technology. But we cannot see in the regional Middle East, North Africa, this region, it's not yet well, there is no regulations enough like what we can see in Dubai. That's why we see that it is important that all of other countries to start to implement the to put some regulations on the technology usage for the future, like what we have seen here.
Innovation needs people to push the innovation. So when it comes to the different countries, here could lead what's happening in the construction industry. Like in the market itself, you find the key players are supporting innovation and new technology. Others are followers. So you need someone to move.
But we still, Magad, believe it's not enough, you know. No matter how mature the government here systems and regulations are, I still tell him that we are eager to see more. We can see more maturity in the system. And he says, like, you know, UAE and especially Dubai, I would say we are at reaching a level like we are not satisfied with what we have. We always like to be more competitive and a bit ahead of the game, I would say.
I think we need some extra enforcement, maybe, if it comes to it. Yes, there is some regulation, there is some guidelines, but if you compare to maybe other parts of the world, will be being more aggressive in adapting the technology. They enforce people to move to technology. Sometimes technology is not cheap, and rely on the traditional way of delivering is much cheaper. And when it comes to development, cost, you know, it's a very important factor.
Definitely.
So I think we might need, yes, we have the regulation, we have the foundation. Now the time to enforce. You need to have, some of the countries, they enforce using the PIM. So in Australia, you can't develop a house or get the permit without providing your BIM model. And the government will take the BIM model, connected to the biggest BIM model, and you will have an access to the entire digital twin for the entire city. For future expansion, change, you can just do this. And that's what we need to see here. I think that's from my point of view.
Definitely.
Yes, such systems require from top to bottom. So when the leadership is well convinced and directed to this technology and insist and persist this should be happening in the country, all of the other authorities and companies will follow on that. As a project management cycle, Aisa, can you tell us a specific, how can the digital technology or the new technologies be applied successfully in the project management cycle as a project manager?
I think first of all, we need to go to the basics. Yesterday, I think Hamid was mentioning here project management. Before we jump to the artificial intelligence level, we should not having people with us and in the team that are missing the basics. So basics, fundamentals of project management, I wouldn't say process, I would also quote Dr. Mansour when he said the principles. We need to master the principles before we go to the technology level. It's very important. So today there are, I would say, prerequisite, the technical and soft skills are needed before we go to the higher level of applications of the technology. I would like to give an example here as a very interesting dialogue I had with Tony Buzan back in 2008, I think. Tony Buzan is the guru of the mind map. He invented the mind map, and he's well-known, renowned philosopher, I would say, in communication, brain functions. So I was introducing him to the stage, and I said I like, to develop myself and the soft skills, and especially, developing a strategy using the mind map technique that you have. And he stopped me. It's like, Isa, this is not a soft skill. Communication skills, utilizing your brain, putting a strategy, having a proper dialogue with people, they are hard skills. These are really hard skills. They are difficult to master. The soft skills are something else. For me, this is very hard skill. You need to master it. It's not like something you get it from education or mathematical equations or physical equations. But the soft skills need to have experience. You have to properly use it in the right time, right place. Today, if we look at our project team, many of them are repeating themselves over years. They're not developing their other skills. If I don't want to say it's soft skills, but there are communication skills, negotiation skills. You will always need it. If I would like to convince my management to bring AI type of transformation in the business, don't I need some convincing skills? I have to negotiate. I have to have some background. I have to know what mood, how can I convince him, how can I demonstrate, present my stories correctly. Those are very important before we jump. But yes, when we are ready, we fasten our belt correctly, then the team is skilled, upskilled or reskilled. The organization is ready. Then transforming technology is going to be much, much easier because there are common language. You don't want to see one person or a few people like us here talking about digital twins and the rest are still speaking about schedule and spreadsheets and the smaller issues. We're talking about here life cycle. We're talking about project that not only finish the construction age of 3 years or 4 years, but we're talking about end-to-end life cycle where we get the benefit, the ultimate benefit required from the business owner or the project sponsor. It has to be realized and it has to be maintained. So there is a benefit need to be, maintained throughout the life cycle. Definitely, we will need everywhere in the stage of the project and life cycle of the project technologies to help us, like blockchain, for example. We need to move from looking at a building to a community or to a city, a smart city. And as I said earlier, government also need to play a stronger role. BIM, for example, was 15 years ago, we were discussing about BIMs. Now it is enforced. But not strong, but at least if you, for example, certain height of a building or certain demand, then you should have BIM regulation. Sustainability, for example, in 2005 was something trendy. But today, I think yesterday, everybody agreed that it's a no-brainer. It's not an option to have. And definitely innovation and all of those things won't be successful without having a strong digital movement, digital transformation backed with.
Thank you, that's great. As we see that these innovative technologies need all of the skills to be built. So, Stuart, in your opinion, what are the extra or specific skills that need to be built within the teams or the stakeholders to maintain the future of real estate business and maintenance?
I don't think there's any. Well, obviously, of course, there's new skills, there's new technology emerges. But a good example. I was talking about this yesterday on a different panel in a different building. But I remember going to see a BMS, a building management system. Everything was integrated, so it controlled everything from the lifts to the AC to the lighting, the whole thing. It cost about $2 million to install in a building. And I was chatting to the client and I was saying, look, what we really need now is a really good, skilled person to manage this. And he says, no, these guys are cheap. We'll pay them 1,000 dirhams and he can sit in front of this computer screen and just watch what goes on. At some point in the future, I went down and I asked him to open the bit that looked at the AC, the air conditioning, and the thing wasn't calibrated well. But because he didn't have the skills, he couldn't understand what was really going on. And I guess you need to understand the psychrometrics of the building and everything that's going on. But what it said was that I think the outside temperature, the sensor was saying it was minus 400 degrees, no, plus 400 degrees C. So the system was running completely out of control, trying to cool the inside temperature from 400. Technical things like temperature on the other side of the cooling coil was colder or hotter than, you know, it was just all messed up. And the poor guy just didn't have a chance. He didn't have a clue. So I think just getting the right people in the right jobs. And it's tempting when you're on these panels to just kind of moan about what's not right. But there's a lot of things that this country does very, very well, and that's the implementation of technology. You know, I've spent the last 10 years raising a family because I think it's the best place for me and to be in the world. So it's easy to bash it, but I think it's just trying to concentrate on the things that it needs. And sometimes you run away with technology so fast that you don't put the fundamentals in that you were talking about a minute ago, the right people to manage these systems. It's all very well having an integrated system, but you need the right person, you know, to be able to manage it. And I'm kind of smiling to myself because I've just bought a new MacBook and this thing's way cleverer than I am. I'm working on it and it keeps suggesting things that I should do and I don't know how to turn it off. And I end up talking to it and I'm like, mind your business, let me just concentrate on the thing that I'm doing at the time. And if you know, I now need to learn how to use this thing. And if you don't have those skills, then you're always going to be falling behind and it's always going to run away with you. So I'm struggling to think of any new skills that, or new things that we need to do. It's just learn how to manage the systems that we've got at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. One more question to Magid, please. Proprietary technology, or what we name it as prop tech, and the application used to manage the properties that's increasing from time to time. We can see this as an intersection between the fintech and the contech and the smart real estate and shared community, shared economy as well. So in your opinion, how can you see that the proprietary technology is transforming the real estate sector? And what are the challenges that you mainly face when integrating such digital systems together?
Yeah, good. First, let me start with what Fadi has just mentioned, that the last decade was very important to the construction industry. We have seen multiple changes happening fast to the construction industry, which we missed in the last decades. Yani usually criticism addressed to the built environment that it's lost in adapting technology, and it's always the report by McKinsey said that they are like second lowest to hunting in adapting technology. These have been changed. Yani I see the pandemic situation happen in 2020. It was like a positive push to construction industry to accelerate the change and the development and more going into technology. I believe a couple of years back, it was difficult to imagine that people are working remotely and we don't have to drive hours to meet, just have a regular silly meeting on a weekly basis. Now we are doing it outside. We are seeing that we don't have a site visit. It's a kind of drone shooting to what's happening. We are accepting the submission with the model, and there is a very promising project with Dubai Municipality for getting the permits and using the virtual model. So things are happening. So when it comes to the prop tech itself, how it's affecting, it's adding more value and making the construction is more sustainable and economical. I was discussing before the meeting the rule of engineering, how to define engineering, and we agreed that the engineering, it's all about using it's a kind of the science and art of using the natural resources in the most economical way. So adding the technology aspect to the formula is again, as we said, it's a kind of sustaining the environment, trying to reduce the cost and remove the aggressive financial situation across the group to be more optimized, and trying to reducing the unnecessary expenses. So imagine using the technology and analyzing office building. If the concept of disk utilization. So if we can have a sensor to use to check and analyze the utilization of the office spaces, and if we can save just 1 day per each staff in a week. That means I have 20% of cost saving and can do in the area, in the furniture, in the utilities utilization, movement with cars. So it's going to mark check many boxes on this, on the CO2 emissions, sustainability, saving to the client, saving of the facility management, and all the asset management during the entire life cycle. So it's a kind of cost saving at the end with the improved experience of the people. What is the ultimate purpose we are trying to do? We are trying to improve the human aspect of the property and for the facility. So doing the human aspect, we have to consider it human first. So we have to consider the need of the people. All this could happen through the analysis of the big data and design briefing and collecting all information which will enhance the idea of even designing the building from the early stage. Again, it's a connected cycle. We cannot break in the middle. Noting that the construction industry is one of the lowest profit margin across different industries. So development and using technologies and the POCs and all such things, we have to do in a very slim way, considering the profitability margin. For me, I'll speak on behalf of the contractor. Contractor usually suffers to be even within the lowest profit margin. It's the lowest profitability within the supply chain of delivering a construction project. While when it comes to innovation and technology and proposals, we are always criticized that we are quite outdated and old-fashioned in technology by client and owner.
I would tell him the same. That you're lagging behind. But not him specifically, I mean the industry and construction in general. Because, for developers, they are embarking on the other industry, which is construction. So imagine if the construction is behind, you can't jump, you can gradually improve. But I think Magid is doing great stuff in his organization and also in the Center of Excellence that they have developed to promote those kind of things. If I may add that today, to challenge and disrupt the multiple industries working together, I would say project management, construction, real estate, regulatory, they need to work together. And there should be some incubators, I would say, or accelerator to get the most out of the market. They can't speak with each other in a contractual way, but there should be a platform where we can, I would say, fail fast, do small pilots, concept proofing, and then the whole market will transform faster. But everybody's in a silo. They're in comfortable zone and worried to touch the uncomfortable areas.
Yeah, I believe this is a very interesting subject to discussing about the future technology and construction, especially between different entities like operation management, PMO, developer as well. As a developer, I know and I believe that it should come from the developer himself. The developer himself who is managing the whole cycle between all stakeholders, contractor, operation, consultant, whatever it is, he should take this initiative to implement the technology in his developments. This will ensure that the development cycle is moving well and implementing all the future technology or the recent models and avoid problems later on during operation and management as well. We have only almost 1 minute late remaining. We'll allow for some queries, please, for the attendees. Yes, Madam Mayor. Ladies first. She asked it first.
Hibba Shahi, head of PMO in Dubai Municipality. Since we're talking about the future, I want to ask a question about the future of funding. So our pain point mainly in construction project, mega projects, is funding, whether you are a developer or government. because the funds will not come very easily, and we have a problem of inflation happening right now. So do you think NFTs, maybe the question for you, Martin, do you think NFT will be a possible funding source in the future, whether they are sold on the metaverse or any blockchain?
Yeah. NFTs, these days, it's like a very fancy word everyone is using in different industries. Definitely could be possible. I don't want just to assure that it's going to add more value to what we are doing, but I can see the quick and easiest things to do. It's optimization and efficiency. If we increase the optimization of what we are doing and the efficiency, such kind of saving is going to fund the decent POCs on small projects. So having a decent kind small projects with the ROI, return on investment, and then upscaling across the board and within the market is going to show the value. I remember a clear case study when we started to use drones 7 years back, and we proposed to use. For me, I don't know what is the meaning of drones 7 years back. I saw just an article by Dubai Municipality that they are going to monitor urban spaces during the summer, during the winter time when people left the garbage behind them. So I said, what is drones, what we are doing? And then, yes, these drones, we understand what is drone at that time. And then how we can use in construction, it's kind of, when we monitoring the progress and meeting and all this, if I can do it with drone, we went to the Dubai Civil Aviation. We asked it for a license. They said, well, you are a main contractor. What do you need to do with the drone? And then we wrote a case study to them, and we made it happen in a big portfolio of AGC to use just 2 drones and 2 pilots. So it was not huge investment. I can disclose that we spent like a kind of 60 to 70,000 dirham to use drone across the board for the AGC project. So at that time, no NFTs, but we have done it in a little bit smart way to improve the efficiency and draw a case study which is saving money, although we are investing in technology. So seeing the technology, it's a kind of investment with the return rather than being expenses is going to help a lot. Faster than the NFT until we know how NFT is going to continue in the near future.
Yeah, there is a bad impression about in the contractor thinking or the developer thinking sometimes that implementing such system is an additional cost. It's not additional cost. It is a saving a lot. If you think about it deeply, you save a lot, you avoid many mistakes, you ensure that your project is moving in the right direction.
100%.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you to all the distinguished members of the panelists. I'm Khalid Hamdi. I'm the projects advisor in RTA, and I'm also a professor of project management. My question is really to Magid. His title is very intriguing to me as a chief information officer in a contracting company. Obviously, you have a lot of digital implementations in the company, and I will focus on BIM. What is the percentage of projects that your company is working on where BIM is implemented? And who is the driving force behind it? Is it the contractor? Is it the consultants? Is it the owners? And to what level are you taking the BIM? To what dimension? I mean, I'm sorry, it's a multifaceted question, but I'm very interested to learn.
I'll answer in a short statement. 100% of projects are using BIM now. We started the BIM journey in 2012. It was like, again, at that time, at early stage in the market to implement, started from having the first circular by Dubai Municipality, I believe late 2012 or 2013, that's going to happen under a certain criteria of buildings, like 400,000 square feet and 30-story minimum. We said we are going to implement, so we work parallelly with one of ongoing projects to do it conventionally for the shop drawing and as-built and all this, and implementing them to learn internally and improve the internal capabilities. It took us like 2 years to master the BIM 3D internally. Then we moved to the 4D on 2015, and now we are in the middle of the 5D and 6D as well. So the answer, 100% of the project. It was like, we understand that the industry is changing and this is a kind of improving efficiency. And we see investment in technology, it's a kind of important investment for the future rather than a cost to the company. So, when it comes to the BIM, it came from two sides, our internal initiatives, and we see the potential mandate of what happened by the circular of Dubai municipality. So the industry will change. So we want to have one step ahead of the game. We'll train ourselves, and we started even to propose that we are delivering BIM to the client without any extra cost, although it is mentioned at contractual requirements or mandates in the contract. A few years back, from 2017, mega projects in Dubai, utilization of BIM is mandatory. So we were ready by then to implement. We are preparing for this stage now to give a complete digital twin to the client at the end. So a kind of differentiation between us and other competitors in the market.
Thanks, Magid. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm sorry we can't accept more questions. We would love to, but we can do it offline after the discussion. During the break, we can discuss whatever you like, but we are out of time and we have to close. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. I'm happy to have this discussion.
Amazing. So it was amazing and impressive again that this region has taken lots of steps ahead and you've been ahead of the game in real estate and hospitality. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll invite you to a very shortened break, 10 minutes only, because we will have the last panel. And I will, introduce the speakers from now. We have top speakers, Dr. Joseph Jbara, the CEO of CAT Group. We have Dr. Sabih, just a second, I'm sorry. Dr. Sabih Hisaf, the Vice President of ICE and Hyperloop, Dr. Ahmed Saleh, Khatibu Alami, Director of Strategy, and our colleague at PMI, Sierra. Lots of exciting ideas, and please come back for the last panel on risk management, contracting, and new opportunities in 10 minutes. Thank you so much.